Hey guys, been gone a little bit, had to take a little bit of a timeout. Had some unexplained and still unresolved, or let's say unidentified, issues with my Blazer after the 8.8 swap. Got everything bolted in, tightened down, got the brakes bled. Went to take it for a test drive and immediately realized something's extremely wrong. I don't know for sure if it's in that 8.8 we bought from County Line Auto Parts or if it's in the transmission. Even with it running on jack stands, you can hear it and you can feel the problem, but you cannot differentiate between the transmission or the rear end because I think it's cross-talking. It's echoing back and forth through the stupid drive shaft. But as trying to get started figuring out a way to correct the problem, I found a deal on Craigslist. Guy had a Turbo 400 core for sale. And, I know, and you know, that I'm never going to be able to restrain myself and drive nice enough to make that GM T5 live behind any kind of aggressive driving with any kind of V8 power. Even though I try to convince myself that, oh no, I can do it, and I'm literally throwing away money, stressing myself out, and not being able to enjoy the vehicle by not being able to drive it how I want to, when I want to, if that makes any sense. So I'm trying to get it in my head to be more realistic and build the vehicle so it's strong enough to hold up to occasional spirited driving. I'm 49 years old. I'm not out tearing the streets up every time I get behind the wheel. But if I wanted to get on it from time to time or take it to the track 2 or 3 times a year or whatever, just play around, I want a vehicle that'll do that and not break. Well, I proved that the factory 7.5 rear end definitely breaks when you try to play with it at the track. So I band-aided it, put in an axle, got it back on the road, started having vibration issues, decided that it must be in that rear end, started the 8.8 swap, yada yada yada. You guys can watch those videos about the 8.8 swap. Got everything in, got everything tightened up, went to test drive it. I have never experienced this type of a noise, vibration. It actually sounds like something could blow up in the drivetrain at any moment. I've eliminated the engine as being a contributor. So whatever's going wrong with the Blazer at this point is either in the differential, which is our prime suspect, because it wasn't making that crazy noise when it was running before we started the rear end swap. So you might as well look primarily at the big part you changed that now isn't working right. So in an effort to try to continue working forward to building a stronger vehicle that I'm not going to have to worry about breaking and working on all the time, I decided I'm going to go ahead and bite the bullet and swap out the T5 manual transmission, go back to an automatic, and I'm going to build as, well as I can. I'm going to build a heavy-duty Turbo 400 with probably somewhere in the neighborhood of a 3,000 stall, double anti-ballooning plates and all that stuff, so that later, as my son used to say, later ago when I was a grown-up, it's eventually going to get a turbo, guys. I may not be honest with myself about when, but I know that I want to put a turbo on the Blazer at some point. So I might as well build the drivetrain to sustain that kind of power. So that's my game plan. I've got a really good head start on my rear end once I can figure out what it is that's not acting right. I'll make a different video about it, hopefully tomorrow in the daylight. But I got this crazy Turbo 400, which turns out to be an older model transmission. It is out of a truck, so I have to have a conversion yoke made for it, a conversion slip yoke for it, or I have to have the output shaft modified to use a regular slip yoke. It's a 1969 tag. Okay, first of all, there's an aluminum tag on the side of a Turbo 400, and you can decode that information. It'll tell you, excuse me, what year the transmission is, and the build date, and the engine that it was behind. Well, this one is a CC 1969, was behind a 325 horsepower 396/402 big block Chevrolet. And like I said, it was out of a truck, so it's got that crazy bolt-on yoke. But for $50, I thought, you know, if all I get out of it's the case, then that's still a win. The problem I'm having is the front pump was completely froze. There was no discernible fluid in it, so I can't see what kind of shape it was as far as checking the fluid. When I turned it up on the output end to lay it down on this dolly that I bought at Harbor Freight, what I would call rusty water or milky transmission fluid came out of the tail shaft, so that's concerning. Not real happy about that. The bolts are loose on the pan, so I'm assuming the guy I bought it from probably pulled the pan off of it. So we're probably not going to learn much once we pull this pan off. I'm going to go ahead and yank the pan off for you guys. You'll see that I've got four of the bolts out of it already. I tried to make a video a while ago and my phone kept ringing, and that totally jacks up your videos, just in case y'all haven't experienced that. So what we're going to do is try to find out how bad this transmission actually is. I apologize, I keep moving the light around because I'm trying to make sure you guys can see. One of my good clip-on, I call it my clip-on lights I used to use for these style of videos got broke the other night welding under the car, under the Blazer. I don't know what I did, but come on. But these things aren't even tight. I don't even know if I could tell. I couldn't even tell if this thing had a gasket in it. But let's find out how bad it is. Yeah, she's rusty. It's not horribly. You can tell this thing was either, gosh, I don't know. I don't know if you could say it was underwater, but clearly someone's been in here before because there's no pan gasket. This is moisture, which could mean that it was actually, I didn't see any external signs that it would have been like underwater or anything crazy like that. But just being stored in a humid basement can cause this kind of, like rusting and accumulation. See, that stuff just wipes right off. But it was kind of funny because the guy was like, it might be a good transmission, but I bought it he bought a commercial build. This was the story. It was a unique story. I never heard anything like this before. He buys and flips commercial properties. He bought a building up in Iowa, and the guy who owned the building, was a hoarder. And he had all kinds of car parts and old cars and I don't know what all hoarded up in this building. So he just started listing stuff on Craigslist and different forums, just try to clear this crap out of there so he can get the building cleaned up and ready to flip. And that's a weird consistency because it is dirty and it does have a lot of moisture in it, but I don't know if that's what contributed to the front pump getting stuck. I don't know yet. We're just in the initial, how bad did we get took, inspection. Now, I tried to mention earlier in the video, and then my stupid phone rang. The older than 71 Turbo 400s are supposed to have an 8-bolt front pump and have the smooth direct drum that you have to run the 34 element sprag. So I have accumulated or amassed a big long list of upgrades on how to make a Turbo 400 handle big horsepower, and I have every intention on doing every one of those upgrades to this transmission in an effort to make it last, or make it live, and make it a good, dependable transmission. Now keep in mind, I am not going to build a max effort 1,000 horsepower build. I'm not in that position in my life anymore to have that kind of vehicle. When I go naturally aspirated, I'm going to be looking at maybe 400 horsepower at the crank. You know, I know a lot of people only look at rear wheel horsepower, but I'm talking about, what, 300, we'll just put it at rear wheel. I'd like to see around 300 horse at the tire, naturally aspirated. Then when I get my 5.3 that's over there on the engine, like the worst camera operator in the world, in the blue bag is my 5.3 build for my turbo. But once I go turbo, I would like to, I don't think I would ever need, and you know, everyone's like, you know, horsepower is kind of like drugs, you can get addicted. I don't think I'd ever need more than 500 to the tire to do what I want to do with this vehicle, because I'm not trying to set any records or go out and beat anybody, you know. I just want to have something that's fun to drive, can take it out and race it every once in a while. You know, kind of like the old midlife crisis Corvette owner. I just want to get something that I can depend on, that runs good. And this is going to be the first, you know, second step, I guess, or it could be the third step. We'll just go with third step, because I did my LS conversion, upgraded to the 8.8 rear end, and now I'm going to the Turbo 400. Now, I will, real quickly before I run out of time here, I'm doing the Turbo 400 build with right around I'd say a 3,000, 29 to 3,200 stall. Double, you know, it's going to have 2 anti-ballooning plates so it can handle the boost and all that junk, and maybe nitrous on the NA build if I ever got that hair, you know, twitching. But what I want to do is run the 373 gears that are in the 8.8 with the NA combo. Possibly go to 327 if it just starts really working my nerves trying to cruise on the highway with those 373s, because that's the downfall. In a daily driver and no overdrive, you really can't have a good gear in there, because it's gonna kill you when you try to go anywhere. So fingers crossed I can get to live with the 373s for a little while. If I can't, I do have a set of 327 gears I can put in there. But when I go 100%, when I go turbo, I plan on doing the 273 track lock with the 3,000 stall, 28-inch tire. Should be almost a perfect combo for a street car with a turbo making big power. So we'll find out. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. Appreciate you guys watching. I'm really apologizing for not posting videos about the Blazer, but right now I'm really irritated with it, and I'm taking a little time out. So thanks guys for watching. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Please share with your friends.